Alright, it's 7:04, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Just to recap here, this is the history document, which you'll find either in chat or linked below in the video description. And it's basically got all the notable runs or posts or discoveries in the history of Battle Network speedrunning. It's a bit dated, but a lot of the early stuff is interesting, so definitely worth checking out if you want to look way back at the history. More recent stuff is better found on, say, leaderboards. But this week we're focusing on Battle Network 1, so let's filter down to just BN1 results. And here's what we got. And we've gone over most of this stuff in the previous days. Yesterday we watched Prismatic Black's 80% RTA in 1 hour, 51 minutes and 16 seconds, and this was the last run, or the fastest run, to be completed without the use of RNG manipulation. This happened on July 16th. And then on July 23rd, as Prism was pushing for the big sub 150, Plexa, a notable Golden Sun runner, was watching him reset in the starting area to get good Green Mystery Data spawns, because Green Mystery Data spawn randomly in Internet Area 1, and they have 2 sets of 4 spawn points, and there's like 2 or 3 that we wanted specifically, so unlikely that you would get good spawns. Often they'd be out of the way, which takes time because you have to walk to get them. You don't know where they are, so you have to check all the spawns, and then that adds to the number of random encounters that you end up getting. So Plexa, being familiar with Golden Sun and Game Boy Advance and how RNG manipulation works in those games, started looking into if it would be possible to manipulate the GMD spawn locations. And let's check out what he discovered.
Okay, so after our little adventure today, I did a bit of work trying to work out how to get perfect GMD locations. So basically started looking at how many frames it takes between when you load and when you enter, then load this zone.
How's the video audio, by the way, Gray?
And the shortest number of frames is actually something like 2. So on one hand that's good, and on the other hand it's quite bad. On one hand it's good, there's very little setup, like there's very little time lost.
Plexa was the one that originally discovered like RTA application of RNG manipulation. I'll pause the video here to explain a little bit about what's going on. In the video here you can see the RNG value. RNG2 is actually a subset of RNG1. We didn't know it at the time. Plexa thought there were 2 separate RNG addresses, but there's only one for Battle Network. He also had the X and Y position. I don't know why they're displayed as floating point numbers, basically something with a decimal, because it's pixel perfect, so you're always in an exact location. There's no like, you can't move half a pixel, so that's a little confusing. And then up here he does have like the step counter, position, as well as a couple things that we were looking into to see if they were associated with GMD.
You are still trying to talk in Discord, right?
Voice activity. I think the voice activity threshold was set too high. I must have had the mic closer to my mouth yesterday. Can you hear me in Discord now?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that.
You were just cutting in and out before.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that's fixed. But this is just a bunch of addresses in RAM, so we were watching to see what the value was, and then this was actually this is the same thing. I don't know why it's on here twice. And this is the RNG value that Plexa wanted to have whenever you load in Internet Area 1, because if RNG was this number, then you got the perfect GMD spawn locations.
The bad thing is there's no easy way to set up for it, but I have a small setup.
That's probably what it is, Gray.
As you can see, I've got a GMD here. We went along a bit.
He also has like a hack
which are exactly
or a script modification that
for the purposes of this run
disables random encounters.
So the location is actually
Well, I mean, you were able to do that in
the way I do
4, right?
Hello again.
is you have to line Mega Man's
In
shadow
4,
up
there was a
to
glitch where you could, by saving, I think, reset your step counter, which essentially negated random encounters, yes. And he's doing that through a script here, because there's no legit way to do that in MMBN 1.
Okay, I thought that was
turn
a
this off for the time
like
being.
Game Shark thing,
because apparently my computer doesn't like it.
because the whole fiasco EPM went into when he was doing his Let's Play.
Okay, so I'm just gonna turn
I mean,
on-
the game's definitely
okay.
added like anti-piracy or anti-cheat stuff. I don't remember
So
what
let's turn on
exactly
the
EPM ran
mouse
into, but he
capture.
definitely did something with
Please
those
capture my mouse
codes.
cursor.
BN4 is a glitch. And BN1 didn't have like very much or any, I think, like anti-cheat. You could just change values in RAM and it would work. They didn't have like
It doesn't wanna capture
backups, duplication, verification.
Okay, anyway, I know, here it is. The mouse cursor is alive. Okay, so if you can...
But the setup that Plexa found is if you stood just underneath the warp and then did a save reset and ran into it, you would get perfect GMD spawn locations.
Okay, so if you can see here, this little bit right here is the top of Mega Man's shadow. I'm trying to align it basically here, which is basically 2 squares north of this little circle here.
It was a very precise and I'd say difficult setup, but it worked and it proved that RNG manipulation was indeed possible. Let's get here. So you save reset and then actually let me go back here. Oops, too far. So you'll see when we get to the title screen that RNG is this number, and it's not changing. RNG doesn't advance on the title screen. That's very important. And then whenever he chooses continue, watch, it starts changing. And then whenever he loads into the area, it's going to pause on this number for a second.
I'm going to go up a little bit more.
I think he's like one pixel too far.
So it looks like I want
So he's trying to get there
this
closer.
third spike here. I didn't
Was
I
that it?
didn't catch it. Oh shit, my script may fucking things up.
Nope.
Oh no,
And then
it
perfect
works.
spawns.
The script can interfere with the RNG, but because I'm taking so few
He's saying that the script he has to disable random encounters can affect RNG, and that's because the way that it was being done is he was continually resetting his step counter, and so after the first encounter check, your steps never got high enough that the game would do another encounter check, and every time the game does an encounter check, it calls the RNG function, which advances RNG by an additional 1. So it advances by 1 every frame in-game, but it also advances by 1 every time there's an encounter check. So if you stop getting encounter checks, then you're going to get a different number of RNG advancements.
dips, it's actually not going to affect it. So with that, I'm going to turn this back on. Now that the RNG's been set, the thing should work fine. And GMD1, GMD2.
Cool. Actually, here, let me, I've got a map. Let me see if I can find it. Add image. And my notes showing the GMD spawn locations, and that might be interesting. Yeah. Is that? There we go. So you start here, and there's two sets of GMDs. So there's GMD 1, and it's got 4 spawn locations, and GMD 2, and it's got 4 spawn locations. You can't see my mouse. That doesn't help. But in the bottom left axis is where we start, and then you run up to glide, and then you'd have to check down right to see if a GMD spawned over there. And so the only ones that are on our way are 2G in the top middle and 1C sort of in the upper left. And Plexa was looking for if there was any distance that you could stand from the warp, reset, run in, and always get in those locations. And he did find one such address. Boom.
So, but you away for cities.
It was right there.
Away,
and then the video goes on, and like he tries to do it a couple times. But
the point is
it's
that you just need to get that 2 frame.
This is early on, and he said that even though it was a little difficult, if you miss it, you could just reset. And definitely getting GMDs in the perfect spawn locations saves times and is worth doing. Yeah, a lot of ease.
Reason for that. Okay. G to reach. Basically have like 2 frames to move, and it's approximately 2. You unless you do. That's been shots of all things that come out like the.
And then that was another alternate setup. Instead of going underneath, you could do the left side, and this might be a little easier to set up. We went on to find, well, Prismatic Black in particular found a pretty good setup. There's several others. I think you can take 1 step forward or 1 step left. There's a couple different ones. But that was a pretty big deal because it was like, hey, you know, this stuff that we see in the tasks where it manipulates the RNG, gets perfect GMD spawns, perfect GMD drops, we can do that in real time because soft resetting restarts the RNG. That was the big discovery. That was the big realization. So let's go back to the history. So that happened on July 23rd, and then I started routing the game and did a practice. This was like without RNG manipulation, and I got like a 230, which is, you know, pretty bad time. But then using everything that Plexa found, a week later, on July 28th, I had a full new route for the game that incorporated this RNG manipulation idea in a bunch of different ways in a bunch of different places. It was the first route that used RNG manipulation, and obviously 15437 was the final time. It didn't beat Prism's run, which did not use RNG manipulation, but it was a big step forward, and Prism and Doisum would go on to improve this route further to what it is in the current state. And we'll check out what Doisum did with it after this run. So now that you've seen the origin of RNG manipulation from Plexa, we'll see its first full route implementation in the run that I had. So let's get started on that. So Tara, do you think the task should be redone with RNG manip in it? The task does have RNG manip. I'm confused, Gray. It's like, that is the task. I don't think there's anything, because the main thing was just applying those ideas to RTA, and I don't think there's anything we've discovered that could go to improve the tasks. There's one movement mistake that I know of in the task, but other than that, outside of Bag of Magic Food, the guy who made the task said that it could be improved. Like, he eventually got better at his ability to avoid random encounters improved slightly over the course of the run. using techniques that aren't viable for real time. For example, if you're about to get an encounter, you can push the A button, and whenever you push the A button, the game checks to see if there's anything you can interact with, and that overrides getting an encounter. But if there are 2 consecutive frames, you'll skip the first one and then get hit by the second one. So it's like pushing the A button is essentially the same as changing direction, where you kill 1 frame, and you can do that without stopping. But it would be very minor improvements. Like the task that he has is very well done, and only minor improvements, if any, can be made. A lot of work went into manipulating the chip trader, and if you watch the tasks, it's really good. So let's go over to here. Dang.
This is exciting.
I'm going to have fun.
What is fun?
So, alright, we've got a timer on screen. I'll show. This is, I did a offline recording of the new route, and this was the restream of it with a timer, as well as it has chat, and I'm doing commentary with, I think, Vash and Prism were with me. So I will be talking in the video as well as talking over the video. Let me know if that gets too confusing and I'll mute one or the other. Show you the splits after the run, Prism.
Oh goodness.
Oh, happy Independence Day, Peru.
The same. I mean, as far as I know, we can't minute this.
Thank you, Draco and Method, for the
based on
host.
the frame that you enter, and
Welcome, everyone.
because there's unbuffered movement and stuff. I mean, it's possible that we could stand next to decks and like spam A, and we might be able to get a slightly consistent tutorial, but it'd be such a minor time save, it probably wouldn't be worth the reset.
I'm talking about not manipulating the tutorial, which is funny in retrospect because I'm adamant about manipulating the tutorial now. You know, oh, how perspectives change.
Can anybody hear them? Looks like Dragoon's having issues. It looks like other people can hear me though.
You're fine on stream.
Okay, thank you, Kilias.
Well,
my mashing is actually
what
a
I
lot
meant,
worse
Method,
than
is that
Prism's, and I
we
think
can't do
part of that
frame
is to
perfect
do with the GameCube
manipulations.
controller that you use. It's a little easier to mash than on an SP. The buttons are a lot more stiff.
Yeah. I'm a fan.
Even a year ago, I was still blaming my controller.
So, I usually take this pretty casually, actually.
You just grab the cannon.
It's cool because in chat we've got
Cannon.
Prism, Mr. Dragoon, and
No,
Kevin.
Oh, for the second one, yeah, I always do that, but
Yeah,
that's not because
And Dan.
I'm mashing. That's just because
All
it's
the BN1
only
runners.
faster if you're mashing, or your buster shots are as good as the tasks.
Oh.
Okay. Now we're going to get into the first example of manipping, and this has been shown a couple times
So,
on stream.
you saw
Part
the
of
previous
it was
video.
discovered by Plexa, and then the different setups were found by other people. I use the one that Prism found just because it turns out that it really is the easiest to set up, because basically you tap left and pause, and as long as you move at least one frame, although I think you can move as many as 2, possibly 3, then when you restart the game and run up into the warp here, you'll get perfect spawns. Also, talk to glides back.
It's great. I'm doing all the commentary for
That's
me.
my
I don't
favorite
even have
trick.
to say anything.
Just AFK for like an hour and a half. It's fine.
I'm not really a fan
Oh,
of
Plex
the
is also in
internet
chat.
encounters pre-power up.
In the old chat, not the current chat. You gotta clarify there.
The custom gauge takes 10 seconds to fill, which I feel like is the longest out of all the battle networks. I could be wrong.
I think it's usually 7. And the
This
other is
was
somewhere around
the
there.
first route,
closer to
okay,
me.
Method? So yes.
And watch this. First try. There's actually
Predominantly-
a visual cue with the background. When the E's are basically perpendicular to the screen, if you push A at that time, it usually works out.
Predominantly, this route demonstrated
Well,
GMD
the E seemed to,
manipulation,
like,
folder
spin.
stacking on
No,
bosses.
I checked on
You mean, like,
emulator.
no matter which direction, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
as soon as they become perpendicular to the screen, you push A because
As
the
well as
last two
certain
frames of that
chip
animation, which each one I think is 8 seconds.
8 frames.
The last 2 frames are 15 and 16, which are the 1000. Unfortunately, the second one takes me quite a few tries.
GMD
which is a
manipulation
little
is difficult.
disappointing. But it's just something you practice.
Hashtag on
Yeah,
bad.
it's nice though that there's a visual cue as well. So
But you can
Ugh.
really just fill it out. Frame 15 and 16 are the best ones to go for. Because every time you miss it, it's only like 3 seconds. So there we go.
I think the early power up helps a lot more than it's. I mean, it's worth wasting a little bit of time. I think.
It's well worth, and since there's a more or less consistent setup for it, it should always be done, I would argue.
And there's the early power up.
That second GMD trolled
Reset,
me a
thanks,
little bit.
method.
The first one was much cleaner, obviously. Alright, this...
I think you guys are going to be really impressed with this run, by the way.
Yeah, this fight's a little sloppy because I fired the shotgun too early, but since we've got the second power up, it wasn't terrible. Yeah, Fireman's where you start to see the real potential that this manipulation has. Yeah, Kevin, you definitely should.
I see what you're going for here. I think. Almost.
It's become silly or really silly. So coming up, we're going to go talk to Glide, and then I'm actually going to pick up the Recov 30 there. It's a chip that the only other place that we can get it outside of a lucky drop from one of the viruses is a Green Mystery Data and Internet 2. We didn't have drop tables at the time, but Prof9 has since gone through and made them for, I think, all the internet areas that we pass through. So in the future, instead of picking it up here, we may pick it up in Internet 2 if we find a setup for good spawns. That said, if you get one encounter and it doesn't take long, picking the GMD up here takes about 30 seconds for that one ship. So
Problem here for me is that the fights here can be a little tough early on.
they can be bad, but then it's so early in the run that if you have a bad fireman split, you can just reset. So
That's true.
okay, now here's you'll like this. So I run into the fire and I go ahead and do my folder edit here. So this is a little bit of black magic, a little voodoo. There we are. And now we reset, and we're gonna walk into the Matar. Now, why would we do that? I drew mini bomb. That's a pretty common ship. That's pretty useful. I got hit twice. I hope that doesn't affect my busting rank too much. Oh, Mech RG. That might come in handy later.
So what's the purpose for walking into it?
It sets up the RNG so that we get mini bomb, rank 5, Mech RG. That was the first setup I found. So Method, if you have a different one, I'd be very interested in seeing it.
And that's consistent?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Cool.
Method says he has a faster one. So, like, a lot of this routing has been done sort of in secret, and this is sort of the big reveal, so there's definitely going to be a lot of improvements done to it, with more people finding faster setups, because, like, since it's so precise, there are a lot of things that we can do to make it faster. And the more people we have routing, the better it's going to be. Hey, gamer.
It's still going to be competitive because of the fact that you're going to rely on doing everything right, so...
Do you save in the same spot I do? Because running might work. Maybe I was talking to Method.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so watch this. I walk along the wall and I save there. And now let's see how this fireman fight goes. Oh, 4 swords.
wow.
Well, that's convenient. I hope I don't miss any.
Completely
Alright, there's one.
manipulated.
Yeah, man, this was a really lucky draw. Now if he can just move to the front a couple more times and... Sweet! Man, I am so good. I didn't miss any swords.
That fireman fight.
Let me know when you see the fight, Prism.
Yeah, I see it. I do have a thing there that might get him to move faster, but I'll have to test that. I have a different strategy than you though, so yeah.
Firing the Buster would change RNG methods, so that's an idea. Again, it's like there's so much potential manipulation for these setups.
So much.
Alright. Now, for all of the subnets have the exact same dimensions, so if you save at the spawn and reset the game, so I checked to see if I had an escape there because it would have been faster. If you save and reset as soon as you jack in, you can run all the way to the right and you will never get an encounter. So that can be useful to pick up any mystery data that's on the far right side of the subnet.
I know I did this one time, but I can't remember what exactly I did. Or when I did it, rather. The jacking out and jacking back in.
Can you make escape a default chip? Oh, there aren't any rake chips here, but we can folder stack dark, so we'll see. Restream is re-recorded, so... I mean, I guess restream would mean this is the second time it's being streamed, which is not true, but you get the idea. So this is the first example of encounter manipulation. So setting up our step counter so that we get... Because all the fights previous have been fixed or random, but this one is going to be intentional.
Oh man, these setups.
That was when we were doing the big race. Okay, so if you move down left, save, move up left here, we'll get this encounter, and I can pick up mini bomb, and this will get us a shockwave every time. Now, I wasn't paying attention, but I think I've already got one. So the viruses that you can encounter here are Matar, Flappy, and Ghost. I don't think the Ghost can drop Recap 30. I feel like they drop 50. They might drop 30. So maybe we could get an encounter with them and kill them with the sword or something. But that was just an early one I found, and I'm going to want to have at least one shockwave for what's coming up with the Numberman scenario. So I just went with that one.
You're doing the email strat.
Oh yeah.
It is a little faster.
I mean, the task
right.
doesn't, so that's proof enough for me. The difference
Prism
must be
questioning
frames,
the
but
task.
considering we risk an encounter.
True, and I thought about that. It is, I think, something like, it's a pretty good amount of frames faster. I did read the task notes.
Oh, nice. It depends on your menuing, but I completely agree. In there, I somehow talked to the desk instead of the kid. Talked to desk hype.
It happens to the best of us.
Okay. Now, what I'm doing next might be questionable, but just wait and see.
Don't judge me.
Excited.
This was a long time ago.
Who leaves battleships in bookshelves?
I had my
In
reasons.
Battle Network 1, they leave battleships everywhere. Pretty much half the things you talk to have a crossgun in it. Alright, we got another little folder edit here. We're going to remove a couple recuff chips, and I got lost in my notes, so that was a little slow. But I'm just going to put this here, because I think that's a better spot for it. And then here's where I want to have one shockwave at least. Go ahead and put in the escapes in Mech Guard. And now... We did my favorite chip in the game.
Is this hard coded?
I wish. But the best code that we can get in the speedrun is actually A.
Friendly round of
Arguably
brass.
C is also useful. J would probably be a third. Anything other than that's kind of a one-off. So I'm going to let Prism catch up and see what I'm doing. Once he catches on, I'll sort of explain the timing.
Yeah, I get what you're doing.
So, this is a point of debate. Now, Quake 1A does 90 damage, and it's an A code. It's an amazing chip, and it's going to trivialize a number of fights. However, it takes about 29 seconds to get each Quake 1A. So, we're going to be picking up a total of 8 here. One's for free, because we passed through this area anyway. The other 7 I'm going out of my way to get. So I spend 3.5 minutes to pick up 7 Quake 1As. Question is, will that be worth it? I'll point out the places where it can save time as we come up to them. I don't want to talk about the future of the run.
I understand your strategy now.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, okay.
Yeah, in Battle Network 1 you can have 10 of any one particular chip, so spoilers, we're getting 10.
Spoilers.
So like a third of our folder is Quake 1A. So I gotta say, for any random encounters you have, I feel sorry for them.
So actually you were saying something in Kevin's chat about the folder flow. Now I kinda understand why.
Mm-hmm. This is something I doubt Method would ever do. I'm expecting him to comment on it at some point. But he knows how much I like folder flow, so...
It's not something I would have planned for, but I mean, I still have to see, the rest of the
I'm gonna
run,
have
so.
the best flowing folder ever.
Yeah, Kevin, it's pretty easy. When the E's are perpendicular, the last 2 frames of the perpendicular animation, which is 8 frames long, you want to push down. So it's really quick at the start. It helps if you practice on emulator, and I've actually got a Lewis script. I don't know if it works on all VBA, but it does on VBA re-recording, which is what the testers use. And it displays things like your RNG seed, how many RNG frames there, or how many times the RNG is changed, when you pushed A, so you can see what frame you pushed A on, make sure that's consistent, and things like what your chip draw is going to be. Useful for practicing a lot of these setups.
Well, Method, what I think is really cool about this is that there's so many other possibilities too. Like, there's a bunch of chips you can manipulate throughout the run. So, but Quake is really useful, especially with the fact that everything stands in the back row, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it will wreck pretty much any virus in this comp.
In this comp and almost all comps, really.
The handy viruses.
Okay, that's it. Now we're going to move on.
Yes, this is way behind our current used route right now, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I just spent 3.5 minutes farming, so I should be.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting.
So once we get to the top here, I actually do one of a few places where rather than run, I walk into an encounter to get different RNG. What is this area? Network transmission? We don't get Quake in NT.
I don't know if that was consistent. I cut a corner there.
Also, I don't get why you leave the room early. It doesn't save any time.
What do you mean?
You-
Oh, yeah. The reason being is because, well, I guess I could show you. Well, I guess you probably didn't do it, but in between when you hit password 30, there is the wall is clear of NPCs, and when it goes to the 15 password, if you run there, Yai will be walking back and forth and in the way. So it's just basically running up against the wall and saving frames. It's pretty basic.
But if you enter the next password, like, you don't have to leave until Mega Man gets electrocuted. And there's no NPCs there at that time.
Yeah, that's true. It's just something that I did out of habit, I guess. I don't always do it. It was something that sort of was here and there.
Okay.
You can get a high cannon later, Dan.
Yeah, we pick it up in Dad's monitor. Also, I have a particular way for doing these number codes, but that'll be a separate specific tutorial about how to do those optimally.
Mostly optimally. I think I found a slightly better thing, starting with 44 instead of
Also,
55.
the high cannon you get in the school network is I-coded, which... I was checking to see if I got an escape. I probably should, like, using an escape versus resetting, you really should just reset as soon as you get an encounter if that happens.
I don't like this save and reset stuff.
Yeah, I like it
It's
too,
so
but
BN4 Japanese version.
It's the only way to control the RNG, but, like, there are places where it is obviously faster. Now, I save reset there because it's going to set me up for this encounter.
I don't even remember Prism
I
complaining
don't need
about
high
save
cannon tree,
resets.
but it's a free chip for the library, so we'll be picking the J-coded one up from Dad's computer. Alright, so I drew two swords here. I just hope that they jump to the front. Oh, look, they did. That's so convenient.
wow.
I
and
didn't
there's-
get a double kill because I wanted Quake A.
Oh, your position doesn't matter. So when you walk around in battle, that does not affect RNG. What affects RNG in battle is shooting enemies and explosions and various other things. Like when Fireman moves, that advances RNG, I believe.
What? Oh, it's because
This place has terrible lighting 2 games later.
we don't know how
I'm
to
supposed to edit my
cut
folder
corners.
first, so we're going to take out these shotguns to put in 4 Quakes. We'll put in the rest of them in a second. But I still need to pick up this Blue Mystery
Wow.
Data that's got the 10th one in it.
What a folder
But
edit.
before that, we're going to get a little encounter here.
Plexus says, I fully expect all B games to look like this
Fully
in
expect all
20XX.
in games to look like this in 20XX. The problem with that Plex is Battle Network 1, you can use soft reset, which is consistent, but in Battle Networks 2 forward, you have to do a hard reset to manipulate RNG.
That's not true.
And then you have to push continue in the same number of frames. So it makes it almost impossible to do consistently.
Okay, well, pause the video for a second there. So, in Battle Network 1, RNG resets on a soft reset. In Battle Network 2, RNG resets on a soft reset. But when you choose, well, when you're on the title screen, it advances. So while you're on the title screen, you have to mash start. And even then, you're looking at like a 5-frame window for any type of setup. So encounter manipulation is impossible. However, folder stacking is doable, especially with setting a default chip. Battle Network 3, there's 2 separate RNG values. One resets on a soft reset, one resets on a hard reset. Actually, yes. Yeah, that's true. I think that's true. And so you can do folder stacking with a hard reset in BN3. Starting at BN4, they save the RNG value and load it when you choose continue, so you can't do like any known RNG manipulation in 4, 5, and 6. So maybe one day, but we are not in 20XX yet.
If there's another way to manipulate the RNG outside of doing a reset, then possibly. Alright, here we do another walk into the encounter. In the previous fight, I got Time Bomb 1J. Time Bomb 1's a chip that you wouldn't get any other way. You can buy Time Bomb 2, which we'll be doing later. But Time Bomb 1 is different. It's also J-coded, which is the 3rd best code for speedrunning. And then we pick up Invis 1 there, which you can buy for 5,000, but that frees up Zenny that we could use elsewhere. So here's where we put the rest of the Quakes in, and I actually get
I'll do
to
a
put
sword.
in Time Bomb.
Oh man.
So we take out the mini bombs, recodes the X panels, and now our folder is mostly AJ coded, which is cool.
Folder flow!
You, if you get Time Bomb on that last encounter, you just reset, I guess? Or, I guess, set it up again?
If you do what?
if you happen to get Time Bomb from that last encounter instead of Invis, do you just set it up again?
Oh,
Is that what you would do?
no, you always get invis.
Always.
Yeah, if you get the same fight, like we get the same threat on the same frame, that means the RNG is the same, which means the drop is the same. As long as you do the fight the same.
That's funny.
Yeah, the drops are fixed when the fight starts, so as long as you get the same rank each time. Now, there are some quirks to that. For example, if you get rank 8 because you got hit, or if you get rank 8 because you moved too much, those are actually two different rewards. Anyway, so our folder is 1/3 Quake 1A, and we're getting ready to fight Numberman. So let's see how that goes.
Oh man. Poor Numberman.
You're going to get 5 weights. Okay.
I wish. Unfortunately, you can't manipulate the Numberman fight because the number
You
door
can't
in the beginning is always
manipulate
gonna
the
take you a different
Numberman
number of
fight. You
frames
don't
to get
say.
through. So there's no way to set it up reliably.
Isn't that right, Method?
However, since our folder is so stacked right now with all these quakes, it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, because by the time you open the custom menu again, you're going to have another one. So.
Mhm.
And the early power up.
And like, if you do get a bad draw, you can always add. So unfortunately, I didn't get a 5th quake, but 4 quakes is good enough. And then with the level 2 buster and a shockwave, we can finish him in
23:30.
stream so lazy. 26 seconds. So
Oh,
it was
man.
a pretty good Numberman fight.
Definitely.
So like, we spent 3.5 minutes farming for quakes, but I saved, I'd say, almost 30 seconds right there. So if we can save another 3 minutes using this folder throughout the rest of the
Splice.
I would highly suggest this as a marathon folder. I agree with Gamer's definition, but there are people who would argue otherwise.
I'd always understood that it was save and quit, as in like save and then reload, or not reload, but actually like put the game down. That was originally what I understood. But the more I look at it, the more I think it's really if you reset at any point. So I don't know. That's really what makes it so difficult to discern. What is quitting and what is resetting? Are they the same?
And here's another fight where having quakes is going to save time. They do 90 damage, and they can hit Gutsman wherever. So it's more powerful than a sword, but has better range. And anytime Gutsman does his shockwave attack, he stands still long enough for you to hit him with a quake. I use pause buffering because the timing is still a little tight.
Gutsman's movement is pretty annoying.
Yeah, he's a lot more random than he is in the later games, which is pretty annoying. And since, again, this is a fight that you can't buffer walk into. Yeah, Kevin, we're going to be a lot slower because I spent 3.5 minutes farming, so I should be at least that much behind you. Anyway, so we beat Gutsman in pretty good time. We've got Dash G, we got Gutsman, and now we're going to Internet 2. So let's see how this goes.
I can see pretty much Stormman getting wrecked right now. Thank you for watching.
Friendly reminder to browse. You know what? That chat's missing. Wait, no. Progbot's there. I think.
And so, like, we've got 3 escapes in our folder. Ideally, you draw them, but if not, most likely you're going to draw either escape or a bunch of quakes or cannon A's, and you're going to have no trouble killing things. Now, we did the early power-up strat, so actually all of the fixed any drops adds up to exactly 5,000, so if you do early power-up, you'll always have enough for the second power-up. So that's another nice bonus.
Mm-hmm. Was any route, man.
Hey, Dan. It's just, it keeps getting better, so...
I said, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's as we were routing this, like every new discovery was just another one of those Craigasm moments.
Craigas.
Alright, minor folder edit here. And now this is how you do the setup to get -1G. I had a slower one, but then Method found this one. Unfortunately, I get an encounter right there, so I have to reset. Because you need your step counter to be a particular number. As far as I can tell, whether or not you get an encounter is based on a couple things. Your step counter, the RNG, and whether you're running or walking. So through some combination of that, you can get whatever encounter you want, basically.
Classic.
With the same chips. And
The
the same
SG.
drop. So there's one in particular that I'm really interested in, and we just got it.
Gut shoot.
Cool. And so RNG's frozen while you're in battle. After that battle, I immediately hold right, and so this will always be your second encounter. Now, it's by no means ideal, because the fight, I have to wait for him to attack, so it's going to take like 5-6 seconds.
I'm so
And
bad.
we get Fire Tower out of it, which is a chip you can pick up in a Blue Mystery Data,
Oh man.
but it's still consistent, if nothing else. And then if you hold down, it puts you in this particular position, and we're going to do another little fold rabbit.
How many further edits do you do
Oh, gosh.
in the terrain?
I'm definitely reading from notes.
What was that?
How many further edits do you do in the entire run?
Just count yourself. Like, I'll post the notes somewhere later. So we hold right. Now we get into this encounter. Now this one's a little tricky because you have to do you have to change direction in open air. However, it works well enough.
It's
so
not
like
tricky.
basically, Internet 2 is completely and entirely manipulated.
So cool.
There is no RNG in it.
So cool.
And we get Gut Shoot. So you've got a 3 damage Buster and Gut Shoot. This fight is almost as fast as the TAS is because it uses the same strats. The TAS will get a sub 10 second, so it'll be over before the custom gauge fills. Mine will always be like just over 10 seconds. And that's Stone Man.
I knew it.
Alright, now we're going to head to Scilab. There's a couple things between now and the start of the Iceman comps that we want to do. Also, early train ticket every time. Always do it.
I'll try to get used to that. It's probably going to be the hardest thing for me in this.
Yeah.
Lol,
The best
Prism.
part is that there are some day transitions where your ticket carries over, but not every day, so it varies. I've already got them memorized, so it's not hard. Just plus this game's like, after doing that for Battle Network 3, which is like twice as long as this one, it's not bad. Okay. I stopped for a second because I'm like, which comp is this? Okay, nothing in here. The vending machine just has like Fire Tower and Aqua Tower. So I guess it's like hot and cold beverages or something? I don't know. The reasoning for that. And here we're going to go pick up High Cannon J. The viruses in here are uninteresting. I think it's Remobit and Hardhead. Obviously Hardhead's not going to give you anything. You could probably pick up Remobit early, but there's almost no reason to do that.
It's in a mystery data somewhere, but isn't it in like a undernet area?
It is, but it's one of those where it's... Or is it Remobit?
There's Thunder and then there's Remobit. I think Remobit.
No, it's
is
Ringzap. Where is Remobit? It's somewhere.
Yeah,
Rem-
it is somewhere.
Remobit is after we get the memo, that's right, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. It's in one of those areas.
Oh yeah, I remember now. So many mystery data.
So we got the High Cannon. There's 2 more comps that we're going to enter. This is the end of the day. Now, I go ahead and pick up the government pass before the end of the day, and we're going to use it tomorrow morning. I usually read the email immediately as I get it, but I was distracted or something. You have to read it before you go to bed. It doesn't really matter when. Dark Navi, they specifically refer to it as the Undernet, so whatever your argument is probably wrong. The WW uses it, like, since there aren't area names, We just have the text that they go by, and they do specifically call it the undernet. And I can't recall, but I'm sure they also refer to it as the www area somewhere. Alright, I turned left a little too early here, so I hit the door. But that's fine. Just sloppy. Take note of the movement prism. Very little direction change.
Sorry, where?
The entire run.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
just
they
behind,
look
I
the
didn't
same, but this was just like the budget version of the internet. They couldn't afford custom backgrounds or the Xbox logo like they did in 2. Alright.
3 was just getting started.
Yeah. So we buy a Lexord here. It's arguable whether or not that's worth doing at this point. Since, spoilers, we're not going to need it for Iceman. But it could help in encounters. And since you get 5,000 zenny from the vending machine, you'll always have enough for it. Oh. And normally you hold up to get to the TV, but since I went later than normal, that person was in my way. The reason I went later than normal is because I wanted a level 4 buster. And
What
here's
is-
another
oh, I
normally you go
forgot
in here,
this.
grab the escape and leave, but we're going to pick something else up while we're here.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I missed one shot, but that's okay. Still a fast fight. And the reason we pick it up on the second trip. And then we grab the escape and we're out. Oh, that guy just Internet Explorer. Forgot to go talk to Chad, so my moving was a little off there. I mean, yes, Dan, extra chip for the chip count. We will definitely pick up a Lexord because it's one of the cheaper chips you can buy that you're not going to get anywhere else. It's just a question of when do we do it. If we buy it early to use, or if we buy it when we buy all the chips, such as Get On. You don't like the flashy background, Jazz?
Oh, man. This old style movement.
So this is the first time you go talk to Freud. My walking was really bad there. It's because I cut the corner too sharply. And I also, when I jacked in, I forgot which comp I was doing. And so I started doing the wrong setup. So I have to jack out. So that wasted a few seconds. Alright, we pick up Recuv there because it's a free chip, and then I jack out because I need to set this next thing up. You can save and reset, but you don't always get an encounter, so I usually risk it, and if you do, you can just reset. So we run into the corner, do a save reset to set up the RNG, and we run up into the corner here. And I actually did this fight wrong, so this is a little embarrassing, but again, I completely forgot the setup for this area.
Whoops.
I also, after the fact, discovered that if you ran to the other corner, it would put you in a better position for the mystery data. So you could definitely save 20 seconds from all the mistakes I've made in this comp alone. Yes, Jazz, Lexord, if you draw it, can be very useful in a lot of encounters. But again, it's like one of those things where if you're taking time to go get it, is it better to do that, or to manip different chips, or to manip fights entirely, or to just risk it with RNG? Like, Battle Network 1 has a lot of questions to ask for each area, more so than any of the others, because of the amount of control that we have over it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's ultimately going to come down to better, more efficient setups,
Exactly. Which,
amongst other things, but mainly that.
yeah, like a better route and better setups.
Which I love finding stuff like that, so...
Yeah, with as many people that are looking at one right now, we're going to start finding a lot better setups for sure. once all this stuff is explained. Further, with each new setup, that can improve the route because we can get chips at different times, do different folder edits, have a different folder, drop other chips. There's just so many pieces that are interconnected now. Well, we're already doing that, Jazz, but I'd skip it. Well, in particular, we get Elixord before the Aqua comp, and it'll one-shot all these viruses because of additional damage. Elixord does 120 damage, Quake 1A does 90, true, but it's single target versus multi. And actually, this was a really bad encounter to get because even with all my effort, I got bad ships. One of the cannons I got was B-coded, so I couldn't take it, and the second draw wasn't any better.
My folder flow.
Escapes.
No.
So this is about a worst case scenario encounter for this area, but we've got a 4 damage buster and solid ships nonetheless. So for as bad as it could have been worse with different folder.
I mean, this is gonna happen. This is inevitable.
Yeah, like unless you do full setups and manip for all the comps, you're gonna have to deal with some RNG. And I'm thinking that the Waterworks comps, especially if we have a strong folder going into it, is going to be something that you're just going to have to risk because it would be faster to get lucky than to have setups, unless we find some consistent, really fast setups. Because so far, all of the ones that I've been using, you run into a corner or a flat wall. Waterworks 1 doesn't have a lot of good places where you can run into walls and change direction. This is another bad part.
Yeah.
Yes, Vash. Like, once we start incorporating this tech into the route, it's going to be very different. It's just figuring out what is worth doing and what isn't worth doing to create the optimal route, and then where it would be better to risk RNG. There's obviously going to be probably 3 different routes. There's going to be a marathon route. There's going to be a RNG manip world record route, which has a lot of, well, RNG still in it because it's faster. And then a single segment route that doesn't use any of the RNG manip.
And that's still true.
I was thinking like doing a relay with both routes.
Yeah, that would be interesting, although I think a direct race would work better.
To really test like what on average is more consistent. Well, we know it's more consistent, obviously.
Yeah, manipping would be more consistent.
Prism still.
For sure. That's why I'd say the marathon route would be very heavy manipulation. Might be slow. Like it would have a higher.
It's good to see neither of us have
lowest-
changed.
Like it wouldn't be as potentially fast as a route with more RNG, but it would be on average faster. Is the idea? It's like if we were to submit this for AGDQ or something, I would say like, look at all this manipulation we can do. We can beat the game in under 2 hours every single time, every time, and that would help our cause.
That was a big deal back then.
Certainly. And
I agree method.
It's honestly more entertaining. I love like the sort of let's just see what happens and keep the RNG in there, like randomness and how fun those races are. And I would love to keep those around for races just for fun, but this is obviously probably going to take precedent if you're trying to get, world records.
That's not what you
Here's
said the
another
other
really
day,
bad
Prism.
encounter. Ghosts are super annoying, and an enemy that's really hard to hit with Quake, unless you're lucky.
So bad.
I don't know how they move, so I'm just hoping for an escape, and I got one here.
Hashtag I'm bad.
This is where Elixord is good because if you keep them moving, they won't teleport in front of you. So if you keep one of them moving more than the other one will jump up front, and you can slash them both.
Precisely.
And they're always going to attack directly in front, so Elixord is actually ideal for that situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, escape is ideal, but you get the idea.
If you want the chip, yeah.
Well, Invis 2 can be bought, so I think those guys can drop Recuff 50 and 80. 80 for sure. No, 50 for sure, but I think also 80. I don't think you can get
50 for
recuv.
sure, yeah.
30 from them. So honestly, the only chip that you could get in this comp that would be worth getting would probably be Cloud, as opposed to doing the setup for it.
Ooh, is that it?
Or we'll talk about that later.
One step away.
So the task does something with the polar bear skip here. Is he runs into the trigger and actually saves into the cutscene, as
Yeah.
opposed to getting the cutscene and then doing it. So whenever I get the black screen, I actually save and reset to save on one menu.
the
It
strats.
also looks cool.
One time I did that, and I saved into the fight.
If you don't menu twice and save into the trigger, you will save into the fight.
Yeah, because the task goes to save twice, I think. And
Yeah.
so I was thinking, oh, I'll just save once.
Nah,
So
you,
that's...
yeah.
Question, do the Invis 1 ghosts, do they drop Recover 30?
They might. I need to check the drop tables that Prof made. But again, it's like
Thank you, Dark Navi.
You can run into them in Land's computer, actually.
Lan's PC?
In Land's PC, you can run into spooky viruses.
Interesting.
What?
So that
No,
would
I don't
probably
believe
be
that.
faster than getting it in Yai's.
Is that true? Hold on.
No,
Hold on. I don't believe that. Can you encounter spookies in Land's PC? Hold on. Land's PC has Flappies, Spookies, and Matars. Lan, you should run virus check now and then. Like, seriously, man. Your computer is so infested.
it would be fastest to run into
So
it
I was
in,
wrong?
the Numberman network.
That's, I guess so, yeah, that's true.
Tons of commentary, indeed. Like, I can't wait for a Battle Network to get into GDQ and just like write a book of comments. Obviously not read them all, but I'll be prepared. And skippable cutscenes.
All spookies have recovs.
If you're going to AGDQ, Kevin, that could be possible.
I really want to go again.
I do too, and I'm sure I will. I'll go to AGDQ and most likely MagFest. And at least at MagFest, we're guaranteed to get several Battle Network in.
Mega
Magfest,
Marathon.
and I'm obviously going to Magfest if I'm going. So
Oh yeah. Team
we're gonna do
BN.
it
The
Danny
reunion.
style.
Prism, before MagFest, I'm going to route out, this is spoilers, don't tell anyone, but I'm going to make sure that we have Battle Network 3 100% routed, 2-player, so that way sometime between AGDQ and MagFest, if we can arrange a place to be, we can stream Battle Network 3 200%.
I never actually did that.
Wow, my dream will become true.
So,
Almost.
the only person that could do it, I think, would be me and you. Kilios won't be there. Method or Gamer could. Actually, yeah, Gamer could. He's running 3. But any of us, basically.
set
Keyless
up
is
for
going to
AGDQ,
MagFest.
throw it my way because I'm desperately in need of another trip.
If we get what?
If you guys get like set up and have an idea for what you want to do for the AGDQ stuff, let me know as soon as
Well,
possible.
they're still looking for the hotel. Basically, once they find the hotel and open up registration,
Time bomb.
MagFest still needs to open up registration and hotel and whatnot. Oh, this is one of the few fights where I actually use Time Bomb, and it's so cool.
Oh yeah, nice.
So, like, when I started the Iceman comps, I did a folder edit, and basically my folder is now entirely A and J coded with escapes and a few powerful chips thrown in, like M Cannon. So that's another reason I picked up Time Bomb J and Tri-Arrow, Tri-Spear J from the comp with Freud. Because my folder now is pretty sick. And like you can see, I didn't get an escape, but I drew 3 Quakes and a cannon. So it's like, even if you don't get escape, all these fights are going to be fast. So that's another reason that I would say, on average, farming for Quakes will save you time. Obviously, if you draw escape every time, it's not going to matter, but it's there. Kevin always goes to MagFest. That's cool. We've been once. Definitely want to go a second time. And Kilios, if you're going, we'll have to... It's once registration again opens up, we'll organize in Team BN and have like 1, probably 2 rooms with the number of people going.
Team BN party suite.
Okay, 3
AGDQ 20.
rooms. We'll just take like a
16.
whole floor. This is Team BN. It's the Battle Network floor.
Net battle tournaments every night.
Kevin, you have no idea.
Well, there's a 30-second delay, Jazz, but that shouldn't affect anything. Oh, because you're talking in chat. Spoilers, gotcha.
I had so much fun when we went to MagFest and AGDQ.
Yeah.
Except for with the host incident, but, you know, that's a story for another day.
Mm-hmm. I'm not... There's a couple of these ice puzzles that I'm not a
What?
fan of, but I'm starting to get better at having setups for them and sliding the right way.
Was that there's no way that was a setup. I was just lucky.
A Skittles folder. Yeah, folder flow is really important to me, Poketo, so that's one reason that I went with the Farm Quake route. Okay, so this ice skip has 4 valid frames. However, there are some positions within those 4 frames, or 4 pixels, it's 4-pixel window, where if you run into it, you'll actually fall into the hole, but if you walk into it, you don't.
I didn't realize I knew that back then.
There's some kind of quirk with it where it scares me now, so I'm always going to save before it. But we
I
need to
usually
do...
run into it.
I know, but see, I did specific testing, and I found 2 cases where if I walked, I made it, but if I ran, I fell into a hole. So until more testing is done, it's really hard to say.
I YOLO it too,
Yeah,
but that failed me on world record.
yeah. But it's like, the second one should be easy. You were just too close to the ice. The first one should also be pretty easy. It's a lot more precise. But yellowing it wouldn't be a problem if we understood which ones sometimes didn't work.
Indeed, I didn't. Method.
Yeah, it's always good to test these things.
Yeah.
Another incident where Elexword would be good. Although Aquasword, because you can get Aquasword A, but I don't know how hard that is to get.
Get Aquasword A from Encounter. Okay, so
Ooh.
we're going to... Iceman's coming up. I drew Elexword and it one-shot the Swordy. And I can use my Buster to finish off this guy. So that's one case where it's like, okay, if you buy a Elexword, you could get a fight like that.
Try arrow.
What's wrong, Poketo? Anyway, so this is the Iceman edit. We're going to do a little shuffling here.
That C code that's apparently useless now.
With this route, C-code is much less good. And now, this is an Iceman fight. So the strangest thing, the TAS actually uses swords on Iceman.
Yeah.
I don't know
'cause
why.
he doesn't flinch. Well, the dimming of the screen, I guess, and
Even so, like, you can time the fight, and it's slower to use swords, so unless it saves on a folder edit, I can't see any reason to do it.
probably what it is.
But
Weird.
right in the face. Okay, so
I'm bad at
honestly, there were
mashing,
quite a
Method.
few encounters that I couldn't run from and took a long time. So the waterworks comp were average, if not worse than average.
Save your own frames.
I think Dan is timing my run with splits. They probably have their splits open to compare. That's great.
Not me.
Oh, Prism's like, I ain't worried.
Well, I mean, it'd probably be inaccurate.
Yo,
because
Brett, thanks for the host.
Route.
Gathering is not, it's just a different route. So it really, you could lose time.
Okay, so for anyone new that just joined, this is Mega Man Battle Network 1 Speedrun History Week. We're watching notable runs throughout the history of Battle Network 1 speedrunning. Today, we're checking out the first run that utilizes RNG manipulation, which was discovered a week prior to this run by TL Plexa. Shoutouts to him. And this video has commentary by me, and I'm also doing commentary over it, so I hope that's not too confusing. That's why I paused for a second. But welcome, enjoy the show, and let's carry on.
Somewhere by farming a certain chip where I get a lot of escapes. So.
Yeah, and actually I've got splits that compare to yours, and they're very interesting, because it's like, oh, I'm behind, with time save here and time loss here, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, and so this is the blackboard where the power up is. Now, obviously, the blackboard is in a very dangerous place, right?
Maybe. I sensed a little Kappa in that voice.
Me? Kappa? Never.
When am I sarcastic?
Oh, it's a Fishy 2, and I drew Tri-Spear. That was convenient. Oh, I got Body Burn. That's a cool chip. You don't see that every day. How convenient. Alright, coming up next is the Skullman fight. So we're going to pick up Quake. I noticed you did your power-ups differently than I did. I put 4 in attack, then 2 in charge. I noticed you did 3 attack, 1 charge. Is the charge useful for the Waterworks comp? I guess so.
Well, with the previous Iceman strat, what I would do is I would want the attack to be high, and since the charge doesn't fully charge to purple, if you have 2 charges by the time his attack cycle comes down, to where you can take the ice block and shoot him and just buster him in the face, it's actually better to do a half charge. Because a half charge with 3
Alright.
power-ups is weaker.
So here's Skullman. Skullman's sometimes a bad boss, but I drew, again, it's like this is another place where Quakes can save a lot of time. I obviously did something really silly right there, and it's kind of embarrassing, but, you know, whatever. These things happen.
Yes. Beautiful.
Good team being proud there.
Mr. Quake is gonna start becoming a...
If this route stays, yeah. Okay, but so obviously if I had missed that, the fight would have ended a little sooner. Quake 3 would have been massive overkill instead, so compared to the extra charge, I lost probably 10 seconds because of that. 5 to 10.
I already...
Oop, splice.
I know, right? So I can't wait. Once this is over, me and you are probably going to talk for like 2 hours about route ideas.
Yeah, dude, please, can we?
Yes.
Secrets?
Yeah.
Oh,
We can do
yes.
it on stream or off stream if you want. It's okay.
I'm gonna give them the treatment you gave me and do it off stream.
Fair enough.
I don't know, I may change my mind. Quakers.
Quakers. So, the traffic comps, like the Waterworks, didn't have a lot of corners, but I thought about it, and the traffic comps you can actually get through pretty consistently with all the straight edges that you run into. So this is probably one area where we could do a lot of manipulation. In particular, we could get Bubbler out of this fight. We could get Sonic Wave. You pick that up in Mystery Data, so it'd be almost pointless. We could get Heater, which you pick up in a Mystery Data too, but you'd save a little bit of time. In the later comps, you could get Dyna Wave. We could even get several Dyna Waves. We could also get Wave, Big Wave. So there are a lot of possible chips that we could get in the traffic comps. So that's really exciting. Quaker Oats. Nice, Kevin. Quaker Oats. Quaker Z with an Oatmeal Man hat. I like that idea.
Quaker Z.
Or he could just have like the Quake, the Flappy on his head as a hat.
Nice.
The giant NT Flappy.
I'll be right back. It'll only be like 3 seconds. I'm not gonna miss anything.
Indeed I am, Jess. Yeah, these fights, or this area is not manipulated, so you're not missing anything. This was a bad encounter. Unfortunately, I got really lucky with their movement, because you have a 50% chance with each Quake for them to move to the right spot. Sometimes you can get them moved twice, and then you've got like a 2 and 3 chance, but even so. The NT Flappy, like the giant one.
Yes. Literally perfect.
The address for the drop. Yeah, Plex, like the more stuff you find, the more stuff, or the better we'll be able to route it out. So definitely appreciating that. The entire time I was in the traffic comps area, I felt the encounter rate was really high, and it was starting to frustrate me. I don't know if using escape makes your next encounter come sooner, but it was pretty annoying.
Time bomb.
Drop time bomb. So there's another example where we get to use it.
Get wrecked.
This is an okay fight. Oh, yeah. Kevin, you should watch the task sometime. Since the task does basically the minimal amount of movement, that will really help you just navigate better.
Moving where now?
Apparently, Kevin ran to the right to trigger Mail's phone call and then ran to the left or something.
After talking to Maddie.
Yeah,
Okay, I got you.
I think that's what he meant. Also, so you won't see it until it's on screen, but right here you get a phone call and you can't skip it until it's done ringing.
Oh yeah, the Sorry Charlie thing.
Yeah, that's annoying.
I hate that. Yeah, it's always different too. I think
Sorry, Charlie.
frame based because like sometimes it'll exit there and sometimes it'll exit like while you're scrolling through it.
Well,
So I guess that's better. I don't have to mash now, which is nice.
yeah, so basically you get into it and just hold start, and you have to wait, but there's no way I don't think you can mash through it. I need to go see what the task does there.
I think the task does the same thing because it's a phone call which overlapped by a text, and I think it's the phone call that actually is what prevents you from skipping the text, not the text box. 'Cause
Fast.
you can't skip the phone call whenever you're getting called by mail until the phone call is over, or the ring is over.
Yeah, annoying stuff like that.
Makes sense to me, I don't know though. Could be wrong.
The formulas for next encounter. Plexa, you're, like I got a hold of Bag of Magic Food as well as Kurt Q, and it's like Bag of Magic Food made the task and Kurt Q helped him a lot. So they probably have a lot of really good information for you.
Kirk Q was talking to me about the task thread, and he sent me some stuff, but it was all stuff that's pretty much...
He probably sent me the same zip. Okay, here I didn't have to go get Fire Tower because we pick it up in a fight earlier. But again, the time save isn't worth the encounter if we could find a better one.
I've seen better
you can
ways
actually
by
skip that
sunset.
text too.
What text?
Whenever you hit the final switch and he starts talking to you and saying like, okay, they're back to normal, you can actually skip that text with hit start.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize that until recently.
Yeah, that's another thing that we just need to probably... I guess it's
So
something...
inconsistent with the text boxes.
Yeah. It's probably something that's just going to come with practice, but if we just went through and watched the tasks and made note of all these things, because it's hard to keep track of, just personally, during a run. You're like, now, is this something that I mashed through or press start on? Yes, this is a restream light. Oh, he was? That's cool, Plexa. I did not know that. So, I take forever on this chip selection because I'm silly, but I eventually figured it out. So, Bubble Shield is a chip that you could pretty easily get here, and I actually do. So, in the route, I have 60 chips that I collect. Maybe that's more than we need. So anytime I get an RNG chip, as I just did, that's one less chip that I have to pick up, so I drop whichever chip takes the longest time to get from that point forward.
At this point in the game, there's so many like new chips you can get anyways. It's almost
Man, I want to go
like
check
we're
out Golden
just
Sun
running
1.
through it and hoping
Entirely
for the best.
manipulated? That sounds like my kind of run.
Probably, again, it's like one of those things where it's like, how long does it take to manipulate, and would it be faster to just get lucky? And then it's like, okay, do you want to do the manipulation strat, which is consistent, or do you want to reset a bunch of times until you get a run with good RNG?
Yeah. That's what I'm used to doing, but that might change.
Golden Sun's broken way more than Battle Network, for sure. You should watch a run of it, Jazz. It's interesting.
As the community for Battle Network grows, more stuff like this is found, though, so it's kind of exciting, really. I'm so foolish for not discovering some of this stuff earlier, the amount that I've played this game.
I'm still going to give you a hard time over not having an actual route and just going with whatever you felt was fastest.
Yeah.
But I totally get that people run games differently, and that's how you ran 1. And it's just with 2 and 3, I basically made the route first and continued to improve it. That's how
I'm
I
not a
did
very
it.
organized person in general, so my notes just aren't very clean.
Alright, I picked
They're
up...
either overly... Go ahead, sorry.
I picked up Heater previously, and I picked up Quake, or Aqua Tower C right then. So that's the second C-coded chip we have, and there's actually, well, no spoilers, but we do the folder edit there after we pick up those 2 chips.
It's kind of scary to think about this too, because looking at this and seeing what's happening so far, it's like there's really no end. There's no limit to this. Which
Exactly.
I know
I know,
we're gonna
Prism,
be
I
at it
know.
for so long.
Oh,
It sucks
gosh.
for me because like I'm gonna be putting Battle Network down, you know, and starting other stuff. Nah,
1's not going to be done for a long time.
I'm gonna be there until we figure it out.
What's the new stuff? A
Not
lots.
much.
Lots strands. You just have to gonna have to watch. Alright, let's see what gamer linked here. It's a Flappy with the Quaker hat. Add a mustache, yes. Yeah, Kevin, the BN1 route's going to be interesting. Obviously, there's some
Indeed.
manip stuff that there's no reason not to do. Okay, so with Colorman here, this is a little specific. When you push continue, the RNG starts, and so as it's loading up, I'm mashing R as fast as I can, because basically for the first, say, 10 or so frames, it's alternating between two separate chip draws. One of those chip draws I want, the other one I don't want. I didn't get it the first try, I didn't get it the second try, so each time I have to reset.
What
and
is
it
this?
takes like 10 seconds. So for every time you
50%
don't get it, it's
setup?
10 seconds, but
Garbage.
Prism knows how long the Colorman fight can take, so if you were to draw, say, Gut Shoot, it really changes the fight.
Oh man, so bad.
Okay, so this fight's actually very specific, and unfortunately I didn't notice that he moved down at the start, so I was actually standing on the wrong side. However, it worked out exactly the same. Basically, if you draw Gut Shoot, this fight should be the exact same every time.
Mm-hmm.
So Colorman is no longer a problem. Not that he was a problem, but he was just kind of slow.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you think OSS will be a little different? How much difference
Ooh.
do you think?
OSS will be interesting because since you can run from encounters, we
OSS
actually
can't
will
be
have a
RNG
lot less
manipulated.
manipulation that we have to do. However, you will do more encounter manipulation in probably subcomps to get the extra chips that you need. So OSS will have a different route, but it'll be very similar because it's basically the same. They didn't fix anything. Like live fire skip is still in it. So
Yeah, do you think in OSS can be possible like 130 something like that?
OSS could be faster, I would say. It's hard to say now that manipulation's into the play, but since Battle Network Basic without manip gets a 150-ish, I could see OSS being as much as 10 minutes faster with the ability to run. So with the
That's
manip,
awesome.
it could get sub 140, but these are like really rough estimates, and until we actually start testing, no one's gonna know for sure.
That's
Go
pretty
way
interesting.
down.
Yeah.
So this is going to be really, really long for being one, and OSS maybe.
It's gonna be a journey.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time to route just because of
A
the
journey
amount of
we're
things
still
that
on
we have
today,
control over and
more than a year
everyone's
later.
considering. So I didn't have to go into the subnet, subcomp, whatever, to get the chips because I already did it earlier. And actually I realized that if you pick up the 3000 Zenny early, you could buy the 2 fast gauges before Colorman scenario.
Mhm.
So it's probably, yeah, it's probably better to do it then, but then before the Electman scenario. And I just didn't realize at the time. So here we jack into the PET to pick up the HP mem, and
Oh man, the
I'm
silly
gonna
manip.
folder edit here.
Channel stream's broken.
That happens. Thank you for this. Try a different one. Okay, now that we've done that, we're gonna run over
Check.
here and look. It's the Silly, which is a really silly name, but that's what it is. And Thunder 2.
That's a chip you don't
So
see
that's
every
a chip
day.
you don't see every day.
Oh, that was scary.
Nice. Silly.
Yeah, exactly,
I
Plexa.
read my mind.
Estimating time save and how long a game can go is almost pointless. It's better to just like try out new routes and experimentally figure it out.
It's like this has opened my eyes though so much because just the possibilities now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think everyone now realizes the potential that we have. That's why I didn't want to like talk about it until I had the whole route done, is because I wanted to like just show off like this is everything.
Never learn. Oh gosh, these
Looks like that
comps.
chat's not working either. Alright, the Lekman comps. Again, this is an area where it's got a whole bunch of twists and turns, so doing any sort of manipulation where it's based off how you walk would be difficult and slow. We have 5 escapes at this point, and again, our folder is like 1/3 Quake 1A, which kills or heavily damages most of the things in this comp. So it's one of those tough calls where it's like, with this route, is it worth it to manip this area,
Yes.
or to just run through it?
Manip it. Manip everything.
Interesting, Kilios. Chat came back because it was the old chat. It still hadn't updated. Wait, you didn't know about that Recov 120? Kevin, please.
Everybody had that same reaction.
There's a chip there?
The chip's free, man.
That's like the second 5,000, and I think the only 5,000 any drop you get, other than the one in the vending machine.
I think so too. Everything else is a much lower amount. Like there's a 2400 in Colorman, and I think here, as well as an 1800. Most of the others are like 1,000 or something. Kilios. Free chips. Free chips and salsa. Free chips and queso. Even better. Queso's never free though.
Sad face.
So far, your mystery data pickups are about the same as what I do, so
Oh, they
Mhm.
should
that
be.
wouldn't be hard for me to remember,
Indeed.
at least.
Like the free chips, we should always pick up. The Zenny, we pick up all the ones that are close, and we ignore all the ones that are farther away. So actually, again, this is just something that needs better practice. I don't know how the zaps move. I didn't realize that I could throw a Quake immediately, and so I hesitated there. I used fast gauge again, so like having fast gauge for this comp and
It's
probably
so
the
good.
color comp would be good, because if you get it and use it, it's A-coded, so you can also take offensive chips with it in case it doesn't work out, but the custom gauge fills quicker and you might more likely get an escape.
Miss this route.
Fast gauge is also good on bosses where it has RNG. Like, the one reason I didn't get it before Color Man, or didn't even consider it, is because the Color Man fight was manipulated. But for Elect Man and Proto Man, since those fights are not manipulable, for reasons that will be obvious,
Psh,
Drams are
please.
whenever you hit continue, as far as I know, or new game.
yep, so
And
it's
so
reset
as
on
long
self
as you
reset.
time your movement to where you enter a battle at the same frame each time, just by holding left and holding B, for example,
Mhm.
you will get a very recognizable pattern that can be
Exact same.
manipulated, assuming you save on the same pixel.
Yeah, which a lot of the setups need to be verified. There are some that we found to be inconsistent, which is really weird and concerning.
I know
This
why.
game, I don't know, it probably doesn't have subpixels, but it's got something similar, which is annoying.
Yeah.
There are no subpixels. What? Oh.
Kevin, with the Raton,
Dang.
I should have fired a half charge in a single buster shot, so that was slow. You can get Raton from a quiz in the classroom. That's what the task does. The answers are 3, 2, 3, 3, 1. It's 5 questions, it's really fast, and it's better than taking the other path around, apparently, at least according to the task.
It saves a few frames. I think it's almost the same. It's a little bit slower to go around.
Yeah, they look very close, but since it's a longer distance, if it's faster for the task, it's definitely faster for us, because less walking means less chance of random encounter.
The quiz is always going to be the same, so it's really how fast you menu through the options. Now, if you mess up the quiz, you have to start over. So
I had
it's a quiz
MCAN
speedrun
in.
if you
Yeah.
get too button happy.
But
well.
fortunately, the questions all seem to have the same length text, so it's like you hold B and you push AAA, direction A, AAA, direction A. It was very rhythmic. Looks like Dive Man, but is really, really tiny. How fast is the quiz? It's faster than the difference it takes to walk from Prague to where you place the battery from one direction to the other.
Hey,
So it's
got
really
you.
fast. Alright, this was another kind of bad encounter. I also stood way too close to the cannon. I should have stood in the middle to use that. Because it's possible he would have shot me and interrupted it, but it still worked out. The cannon cursors, in particular high and M cannon, move a lot faster in this game than they do in later games. The traffic comps had really bad encounter rate. It was really high, and I didn't get a lot of escapes. So far the elect comps have been going much better than the traffic comps were.
Really?
I was just
Go
going to say
ahead,
that the battery hitboxes are really tiny, and unless you're standing next to it, your Mega Man won't interact with them, so it's a little annoying. Alright, go on.
Quite.
I was just saying, maybe not realistically, but technically, I mean, if you make setups for literally every fight, I mean, you can completely manipulate the entire game. So,
This
yeah,
is true.
like I said,
if you really want a world record, you can get it pretty easily if you persevere through it. It's just the time and the effort.
I'd like to add that we have enough control over the game now that we could literally write out a blindfolded route for the game.
More or less.
So, Dan, you up for that? Kappa. The video is recording. I would pause it, but then that would affect the timer. But the commentary is live.
And now the commentary is a video. Oh, the inception.
Calculated percent.
How many complete runs have you done of this? I'm curious to know. All the way through.
I did the race that we did, and then I did.
Oh, you did this for the race.
Huh?
I mean, like with this route.
Oh, with this route. I
Yes,
think this is my second completed run with this route. So I did one, and I made some mistakes that I weren't happy with, so I did it again, and improved that time by almost 5 minutes. And
Nice.
this is the run that I got. So, I mean, the first run was just bad.
This is obviously a PB.
Yeah, I mean,
For
this
those
yeah, this is a PB, but I'm using new unfair tech advantage, so...
She did.
Sorry, you write it on the inside of the blindfold? I don't know. So it would be not technically blindfolded, because you'd have to read the notes and or memorize them. But you could do it without looking at the game screen, if we were to be very specific.
And I think what's going to be interesting in this is I think that when I start looking into this stuff, I'm obviously going to take better notes than I've been taking, which is none.
AKA
Well,
notes at all.
Yes. But I think my setups might be different. So my run could be completely different than yours.
It would be.
Well,
Or
see,
not completely, but...
yeah. Well, the thing is, we need to basically each map is going to be exactly the same. Then we just have different
Chaining.
setups for it. So there's like a solution to every map, basically. And it's
Sorry.
like if you follow these setups, you will end this comp in X amount of time with X amount of chips. And basically, we piece together whichever ones are fastest and give us all the required chips. It's just creating those pieces is going to be a very long process.
Slow.
With hopefully many people involved. Okay, that's the end of the elect comps. And now, unfortunately, these are two fights that we can't manip. It's Elect Man and Proto Man back to back.
Can't manip.
Can't manip them yet.
Oh, he knows.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I didn't get any chips that could hit him quick enough. He moved out of the way of Quake, so I'm just going to have to Buster only. This first fight is almost always the same amount of time. It's just a question of if you draw a chip that can hit him before he moves, which would basically be High Cannon, Sonic Wave, M Cannon. M Cannon makes him flinch though, so it's actually not that much faster.
Really nice Buster.
You know, I actually just had an idea that if you were standing next to the power switch and did a save reset and were holding start, if you mashed A, it would be exactly the same as the Color Man setup. And after you delete Elect Man, if you hold start, you should skip through to the Proto Man fight in the same amount of time. And it would always be the same. So if you could get Elect Man set up, you could also have Proto Man set up. So we may be able to manip these in the same way that we manip Color Man. So that's something to be looked at. And if these fights are not RNG anymore, then that probably changes the routes somewhat. Because like
It's gonna be a while till
yeah.
it's got a solid, like, this is the route, guys. And it might never even happen to where it's like,
Might not even ever
chair so
happen.
squeaky.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Quake
Quake's
3
on.
good
I was wondering
drop.
what that was. I was like, what do I hear in the background?
My chair's starting to wear out. So against Proto Man, with the folder we have, I've looked and I haven't yet found a pattern to his movement, so he's really hard to hit with Quakes, which is disappointing. So basically the only chips that I have that are better than my Buster are Quake 3, M Cannon, Elect Sword, and I think Tri-Spear, Tri-Arrow. So there's like 5. And if you don't get any of those chips, it's basically better to just Buster him. Because if you do this fight Buster only, it'll take you 1 minute and 5 seconds, about. If you get a chip that deals like over 100 damage, you can basically save 1 cycle on his movement. So this fight's kind of slow, but it's very consistent. So you couldn't speed it up by too much, but you certainly could.
If you shoot his shield enough, he will attack you sooner too, which may be useful, depending on what you draw.
True.
So,
Oh, Drams, that's true. RNG would change during the fight. However, like with Color Man, if you start the fight on the same RNG and do the same thing, the subsequent RNG would be the same. And since, like for example, with Elect Man, let's say I drew 5 Quake 1As. A full charge shot and a Quake 1A 5 times would more than kill him. I'd have to check the math on that. And every time he moves, that probably changes RNG, and every time he gets hit, that changes RNG.
Oh,
Your
it does.
movement doesn't factor into it, and time doesn't factor into it, so we could do the fight consistently. For example, like Fireman, that fight.
Okay. So, every time a Elect Man moves, he advances RNG by 40, and whenever he chooses to attack, it advances RNG by 1 because he's got 2 different attacks. One is the Lightning Strike, which doesn't affect RNG, and the other is Transformers. And if he does the Transformers, it picks a random spawn position, and if you're standing in one of the places where a Transformer would spawn, it picks a different one. So if it does the Transformer attack, it advances RNG by a seemingly random amount, and since you can't start the fight on exactly the same frame, if you don't delete Elect Man before he does his first attack, pretty much you've lost RNG manipulation. So we did eventually figure that out. He's a mess, but we've got a way to deal with him now.
It's consistent. Oh, did I skip the Elect Sword? I guess I'm not too keen on that chip. I probably just didn't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
I know you can buster his shield and it'll attack sooner, but I don't know. I just don't like that, I guess. Gut shoot would work best. Actually,
Splice.
I don't know what I was thinking there. And then that would be almost one-shot him. He's got... How much health does Luckman have? 700?
600.
600. So that would be gut shoot, full charge, half charge, single buster shot.
I have a few ideas for that. I guess I'll have to talk
Hey,
about
AJ.
those later.
Actually, we could probably get a G-coded chip to follow it up with. Like, I know specifically the task gets, I think, High Cannon G, so that way
High
he can...
Cannon G and a Thunder 3G from like the chip trader. I think that's from Magic
Yeah.
Man though.
I saw that, though.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
why did I
Fireman
talk
didn't
to
prove
that
it
side?
because I did
Check
notice
out
I did the
Higsby's
same.
hair. Oh man.
However, I could have danced around and it would have made a difference.
You don't rarely see that angle of
Another
Higsby's
thing to
hair.
note is we could manipulate the Ghost Navi fights if we wanted to.
100%.
So, you could delete Fireman in no time.
Yeah, actually,
Get his chip.
the original... So, like,
But they're
I did 2 timed runs and 1 test run, and in my test run, I actually picked up Fireman V2 and Stoneman V2 using setups. But unfortunately, the Fireman V2 setup was inconsistent, and we couldn't figure out why. Method actually helped me with that
I know
a
why.
little bit. So we ended up dropping it because even if you could just run into and gut shoot him, it's still like a V2 Navi fight. It's kind of out of the way, and you have to do a folder setup for it.
It's an F code too, and you've got A
Yeah.
codes really in here, so it's
Oh.
kind of like a.
I wasn't paying attention at the time, but after I bought the 2 fast gauges, or it was in the PET comp when I manipulated the silly fight, I did a folder edit. I really like that folder edit, and I'll talk more about why I like that folder edit later. Chip trader manipulation might be possible, Plexa, but I doubt it will be consistent enough to do in a run. Send
Method?
a save
Yeah.
state with the chip
Yeah.
trader, please.
How about that chip trader manip?
I will look at chip trader, but I agree it's probably going to be so inconsistent.
Prism, you shouldn't look at chip trader. You would be better off looking at setups. Someone
Shots.
who's better at looking at the code and stuff like Plexa would be.
Well, what I
should
mean
look
is
at
I'll
chip
look
trader.
at like if we find anything, I'll look at ways to maybe set up with queues and stuff, but I don't think it would be realistic.
Okay, that's fair.
You can destroy a run with it basically really easily, so.
If we could get, like, if we had even a 10% consistent way of getting a really powerful chip, that might be worth it. At the same time, though, we can manip most of the boss fights. Oh, I picked up 3 RNG chips in this run. I forget to say. What were they? I think it was Dino Wave.
Like, chips that
Thunder.
don't have a setup.
Yeah, I got them in like the traffic comp and the power comp. So
Yeah,
basically,
you did get Thunder.
yeah, I don't have to pick up Longsword. That's from a Green Mystery Data, so that got dropped. And I don't have to pick up Fire Sword, which Fire Sword is a fight that you manip in Internet Area 2 on the second visit here. But since I didn't need it, I didn't do the setup for it, which I'd probably save time. At the same time, I got a random count. Now, I've never had a Green Mystery Data spawn here, so I didn't realize you couldn't run through it, so that was a little silly.
GMD troll.
Method,
Good draw.
you dissed the chip trader, but if we could somewhat consistently get like a good chip out of it. Now, we're not talking about using it to fill the library, or at least I'm not. I'm saying if we could get like a chip that we could then use in subsequent fights, is what I'd be interested in.
I'd be more interested in the library.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying right there, too.
Oh.
Manipulating a particular chip with a particular code that flows.
And Plexa's got the right idea. Because, yeah, the more stuff you figure out, Plexa, like, when you sent me the script or whatever with the location of the chip draws, that sped up a lot of the routing and folder stacking. And bubble wrap, yeah. See, so there were a few chips that I picked up, and as a result, I didn't have to do these later ones. You can get escape chips from the traders. I think it's... Can you get it from the 3-chip trader or just the 10?
I feel like I've gotten one from the 3-chip trader.
The 3-chip trader would be a lot easier to have setups for because it would take
It's
less frames.
smashing, yeah.
But again, like, putting more escapes in the folder increases your chances of getting one, but that's still relying on RNG. So, if you're...
Would you agree, because a lot of people used to ask me this, that taking the escapes out of the folder really isn't a good idea?
No, why would you do that?
Well, for like fights, because I know you can manipulate them now, but like even even for fights like Elect Man and Proto Man, I don't think it's really worth taking them out.
No, it probably wouldn't be worth the extra edit. Because
Exactly. Now we're putting editing in there, so
yeah, the run's RNG anyway at that point, so you should just hope for good chip draws. Basically the same thing Prism's been doing this entire time is how you should be playing. Using the, well, what will now be single segment strats.
We've retired your strategies to a new category.
You say that, Prism. It's a
Wow.
50% chance. It's a coin flip.
I've rarely, not never, but I've seldom seen someone not get the dynamite chip.
It's a 50% chance if you look at the
50%
drop
chance.
table. So this is where we
50%
would pick up that green mystery data that I just passed. Is where you would get longsword O. I don't have a setup for it, and it's not practice, but it's the first chip you drop if you get any RNG trip, so it's kind of like a backup. So basically, there's 60 fixed chips in the route that we manip for, so you'll never not finish a run. It's just the more RNG chip drops that you get, the faster your run will be as a result. I have a lot of bad fights in the internet area, and it's really depressing. But the thing with the internet areas is because they have all of these twists and turns and circles, in order to have like manipulation through step frames and walking, would take so many different saves. Oh, also, I got 2000 Zenny from RNG drops, so I bought an extra HP memory rather than picking the one up here. And Prism, I think you'll like. You're really gonna like the door virus fight here.
I was wondering what you were gonna do.
Oh man!
Fortunately, since like it's not a cutscene that you walk into, or I mean it is, but you can hold B to skip through text at a consistent way. We're able to set up for it. I'm glad, Plexa.
Not nice.
I'd say Kevin and Dan will like that fight too. Because that virus
So
is
you
really
just
annoying.
hold B when you hit the gate.
Yeah, when you start, you hold up, left, and B, and you'll start talking to it and finish talking to it at the same time. Also, I'm really confused by the wood tower viruses. I never can guess which one's going to attack first.
Yeah, they seem a bit random.
Double Quake 3 would be best, Dan, but we only have one in the route. So, if you were to get a second one from a drop, and then put it in your folder in place of Aqua Tower C, you could do that. Kevin.
You would just replace one of the chips, basically Aqua Tower, yeah, with it. So
Yeah,
you
it'd
can
be a straight
adapt.
swap.
It's kind of similar in the old way that we did things, or I say that it's
The
it's
old
really
folder
weird,
stacking method.
Yeah, it's kind of similar in the way that you adapt to it. If you get the chip in battle, use it instead of, whatever.
I also don't fight drain viruses too often, and
They're so
I'm
fast.
apparently really bad at fighting them.
I hate these guys.
But, yeah.
There you go,
And
the
of all
chip.
things, I get drain. So it's like I got another chip there. At this point,
Didn't need it.
there's only 4 chips left to get, and so I'm going to drop the one that takes the most time. So we're going to buy Time Bomb 2 here, and I have 2,400 Zenny left over, and I bought something for 2,000. So basically, throughout this run, I got 5,500 Zenny from drops. So, they're literally fishes. There's also the mystery data right there that we passed, except I don't think that one can drop anything useful. And then the one in this
Ice
area
Cube.
can drop Recov 150, which would be useful. It's just a
I think
question.
it drops Ice Punch or Ice Cube and some Zennies.
See, Prism knows.
But you get Ice Punch in Iceman's comp, and you get Ice Cube in
Internet
the shop,
4,
so.
which we just did. So there's like very little reason, because Ice Cube's also what, 3,000?
It's 3,000 at the shop, which is like one of the cheapest chips. The cheapest
Exactly.
you can buy a chip is Hammer.
For 2K, and we do
second
get
to
it.
that, it's 3,000, which is like for fast gauge. Ironically enough, that was one of the cheaper ones. Nice G-code cannon, high cannon.
Yeah, this game was just really troll. It was like, oh, I see you're manipulating me, because I think I got Metguard G in the run too, in a non-manip fight.
This is really close.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm a new runner, okay? I make mistakes. I'm bad at being in general, but this is mainly just to show you guys what we can do with the game now.
This was an exhibition run. Also a PB, but not saying much for me.
Don't judge yet. Don't judge just yet.
Don't judge me!
Sword A, so Prof
I have
9 made
another
drop
PB to
tables
show
for
you
most of the
tomorrow.
GMDs, and I don't remember Aqua Sword A being a random drop from anything. So I think you got Aqua Sword A from the fixed mystery data, which is also green and can be confusing, but it's not a random drop. And of course, we're always buying train tickets early because that saves frames.
The mystery data, yeah, that mystery data, and before you enter that area is always going to have Aqua Sword. It's stupid the way it works. Like, some of the greens are fixed, some of the blues are fixed.
The
some
colors
of
are
them
basically
there's, like,
random. That's what
there
it
is
is.
like one purple mystery data in the game,
And it
it's
has
in
400
Fireman.
zen.
Quiz time!
Yeah, one purple mystery data.
3,
I don't.
2, 3. This is the quiz. 3, 3, and then 1.
3,
So
2, 3,
you
3,
get
1.
Raton 1E from that. So you see, it takes almost no time to get. And then Barrier R. Since there's no other way to get Barrier faster. So we're always going to go over to that corner. So the time it takes to get Raton is literally however long it takes you to talk to the kid.
And yeah, the barrier's right there, so that is useful. I just never knew the quiz.
Well, I mean, like, playing the game casually... bad walking right there. You'll know all the answers. They're really easy questions. Whoop. It's just,
Yeah.
once you memorize them, you can do it faster.
You make one mistake though, you start to waste some time.
It's only 5 questions. Also, I split differently than you do. I split basically whenever you jack in or kill a boss. Polar Bears is a unique exception of that. So, rather than split when I get the PAW memo, I split when I jack into Dad's PC. Because it's always going to be, all you do is walk from there straight to Dad's PC. So I
I'll probably
basically...
do that too,
yeah.
because splitting at pause memo can kind of interfere with concentrating on the mashing and moving and stuff, and
Exactly.
gets you kind of disoriented, so...
That makes the Bombman split even shorter, but it's still important. It's like, splits are useful where it's like, this was the end of RNG, or what have you.
True.
It's like, this is the start of Bombman, where am I? This is the end of Bombman, where am I?
You haven't passed me
Where
yet.
am I?
I still have some catching up to do. So now we're on our way to Bombman. Memos are done, so basically we don't need any more chips. It's just a matter of stuff. Also, you'll notice that I edited my folder when I got Trilance, the start of Internet, and I didn't have to edit when I went to fight the door virus. So that was already taken care of.
Nice.
After I fought the door virus, I actually edited my folder again and I put in Aqua Sword A over Quake 1A. Because that's basically, you push R twice and then swap it out. Alright, this was a bad fight, or whatever. I drew escape, and I get hit. Quake was in the air, so I couldn't use a subsequent chip,
Cool down.
but it's fine.
This makes me excited for my 24-hour 100% stream whenever I meet my follower goal. Because this is going to make it a little bit easier.
100% would
Oh,
hardly
yeah,
take
like-
24 hours.
Since folder stacking is basically save in this spot and run into the trigger, and you will have these chips. You can pre-plan everything.
Even
Especially for
bass.
Well, Sharkman would be different because it's a talking thing. You would have to match through the text frame. Basically, that would have to be consistent.
I wouldn't even, like, if all you had to do was push A once to talk to him, I would try setting it up, but since you have to push A to talk to him, and then push left, and then push A again, that's 3 different inputs, there's no way you could do that consistently.
So you
Be
can go
better
for
off going
window.
into the very last undernet area and grabbing a bunch of Quake 3Cs and Night Sword Cs.
Exactly,
Mhm.
which you can pretty easily stack. Now,
Oh,
I moved too
man.
early, and I got hit by him, so
That hurt.
this was a bad fight. I drew Quake 3, though. Fortunately, I didn't die. It's like after I got hit there, I'm like, gee, I hope I don't die.
Mm-hmm.
Because the viruses in this game are so strong.
Yeah, they really are. It's scary sometimes being in this situation right here.
This was also my first time doing it without maps, so I was able to have more notes on the screen, but I didn't have any maps up. And the internet is still a very confusing place.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't play the game for 2 weeks, I get lost. So.
I think I have them permanently ingrained in my mind now. Just because of all the setups that we do.
It was a bad fight. But fortunately there's only one popper, so I knew where he's going to be, and I drew Quake 3 and Aqua, so it actually
Nice
wasn't
fight.
too bad. And I get Dino Wave, which I forget if I already had or not.
It's
Still,
funny.
troll.
I don't remember you grabbing Dino Wave.
Maybe that was in my last runs when I got Dino Wave. That makes
Possibly.
sense.
They all blend together.
They're all starting to blend together.
Stop copying me.
So, I had Aquasword A and I had Quake A. I'm not sure why I didn't take both of them. I guess I thought Aquasword was a different code, since Elexord's a different code. But Buster does 80 damage, so all I did was look silly there.
When it doesn't dim
Trisphere.
the screen or dim the chips when you select it, it becomes very difficult to to keep track of what to grab.
Yeah, it's something that's really nice in future games that you miss a lot when you play this one. Now, it's like, I see this and it's a ghost and the hammer guy. I'm like, this is going to be a horrible fight.
Do you get Quake 3?
Whoa.
No, I had 2 Quake 1s and basically just watch that fight.
That was
I did
handled
that a
pretty
lot
well.
better than I thought I would.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
Okay, and here's Bomb Man. So, you stand in the corner, save reset, and run into the fight. Now, Bomb Man is my favorite boss fight now.
Oh, heater's not G-coded.
Everybody's saying that.
Yeah. Because you'll remember we picked up Heater earlier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
those
fight's
bomb
basically
spawns.
Heater, 2 Buster shots, Heater, charge shot, gut shoot. Bomb Man, easy every time. He won't even use a mine because his health doesn't get low enough.
People have died to
Free
mines
S rank.
before. He's a pretty dangerous boss
Oh, that's Bomb Man.
with how low our
And
health
I
is.
accidentally talked to Dad's coat because why not?
I
Why-
hate this section of text.
Yeah, it's so
Talk to
long.
Dad. Oh, it's so bad.
That's
So it's like 143 almost, and Bomb Man just died. And honestly, I'm actually feeling pretty bad at this point because I'm like, I feel like I'm behind Prism, and I'm pretty sure I still am. What's your Bomb Man split?
130. Hold on, let me check. My bomb man split is a 138.45. My best bomb man split is.
So I'm like 5 minutes behind.
I almost forgot to buy a ticket early there, so it would have been better to wait till later, but I bought it early for consistency because I would have forgot that I hadn't bought it. So this is the start of the final day. But yeah, so obviously I'm behind Prism's time and I'm starting to feel bad. That actually affects my play a little bit. So I'm gonna
Snipes world
My
record.
first major mistake
make
of the
that.
run.
couple small mistakes, but we'll press on.
Yeah, so my bomb man split for my PB was about 5 minutes almost ahead. About 4
I haven't been to the metro yet, so
And honestly, once you hit the memo split, that's kind of when the RNG is more or less done. So here you'll see that rather than talk to the train guy, I actually started to go to Scilab, because that's what we do next to fix the metro ticket. So I wasted about 25-30 seconds doing that. So that's a really,
Oh, yeah.
really silly thing to do at the end game.
You just noticed I saw that.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. It's like when a lot of people forget to go back outside of the metro line after the when
Yeah.
Colorman segment is. It's
I
one
did-
of those things you just like, oh my god, I just wasted time.
Yeah, I did that while I was routing because I had turbo on and I just completely blanked on it. But now we're set.
The worst thing is losing time on the overworld, like real world segments, because it's just moving around.
Yeah.
It just feels bad. It's like I think everybody has forgotten Higgs' memo except for me at this point. And one day that day will come.
I didn't.
And it will be
Not
a
yet.
really bad time. Yeah. You haven't either.
Of course, I'm a new runner, so.
Yeah, I've only seen you race me that first time, this last time, and then these runs, really.
Yeah.
Well, this
I've-
run. Quite an impressive jump in time.
Well, yeah, I think I get better faster because I do so much routing.
4-hour run,
Because like when I started
2.5-hour
running
run.
NT, I did a bunch of practice and routing, and like my first run
Sub
was
2.
a 110 or something. And it was actually on pace to beat Doysum's time, but then I jumped into the core and died.
It's a talent that I don't possess.
Which is fine because you have different skills than me. So now that we're going to start collaborating on this, I think the route's going to get even better.
I'm excited.
And by collaborating, I meant I was going to retire and go play a different
World
Battle
Three
Network game and
comps.
leave Prism to do all the
My
work.
experience is the RNG, or the encounter rate is repulsive. I don't know how yours will be, but
Always some help.
Not sure again. So comps, the ice comp isn't ever bad. Obviously,
yeah.
the elect comp's not usually too bad. The fire comp is really the worst one. So I think
I
if
agree.
there's any that we should manip, I would vote for the fire comp. But the problem is it's just got so many twists and turns that, and we have 5 escapes in our folder. If you add your first turn and have 10 chips, I don't know what the probability is, but most of the time you get an escape. So if you were to do any sort of setup for it, it might be more consistent, but at the same time it would be slower than better RNG,
Yeah.
which
I
is
would
the
agree,
depressing
though.
part.
This is the worst. This is definitely by far the worst comp in the entire Wily segment. It's so bad. The snake eggs are horrible. They're way powerful. Their movement is so unpredictable. They block everything. And everything is so strong. Everything has like 300 HP. It's ridiculous.
Triple Handy, I think, is the worst fight because even with the Snake Edge, you could theoretically kill them, but like doing 900 damage in a fight quickly, it's not going to happen.
Not to mention that they place those bombs blocking themselves off, so it's just...
They routed on console. They didn't even have emulator or save states. Like, I'm very impressed with what Doysum and Prism were able to do, and we will be seeing that after this. We'll start with Doysum's run, which is quite a jump in
I
time
have a
to
general
mine.
idea of what your final time would be.
Yep. The first comp was actually not too bad, honestly.
I like, though, that... I like this just giant canvas that we have to work with now.
Yeah.
It's like the magnum opus of speedruns that I will ever do.
Honestly, I'm a little disappointed that I'm not already done with the game. I thought since basically all the boss fights would be free and I don't have to worry about chips, I'd be done, but look, like the run's not done yet, so we don't know what the final time is, but looking back I can already tell you things that it's going to make it faster is not farming quakes, because as nice as that was,
Yeah.
it just takes too long. And there's a lot of fights like the Cloud Virus, the Thunder 2, Tri-Arrow. Basically any fight in a subnet that's optional should not be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Drams, the number doors are difficult to manipulate because the RNG still continues as you enter the door, or when you enter the door. There's really just not a good way to know.
I mean, it's harder to manipulate than Color Man, and you saw how many tries that took, because basically the number's not locked in until you get through the text and say, yes, I want to guess the password. That's when the number gets locked in.
With a turbo controller, yes, but legitimately no. And that's what makes Number Man sort of difficult.
Well, that'd be
That's why we
interesting.
farmed the Quakes.
What if you had a
Because,
turbo
I mean,
controller?
then you're dealing with number door RNG and yeah.
You know, that is interesting, though. If we had a turbo controller, we could manipulate all the fights.
Yes, but that.
My reaction exactly.
No. But it's
That's
still
never
an
allowed.
interest. That's still an interesting thought, though.
Oh, Aqua Sword, man! You could have bought it. Oh well.
Should have.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Your time is extremely impressive, though, for someone who's really run the game, like, very few times.
Still, I'm familiar with Battle Network, so.
Well, I mean, but, you know, I grinded out in my first few months like a 158 and thought that was amazing, and you're crushing it right now. So it's, you know, it's nice to see what we can expect from this, and then with more optimization, it's just, who knows? It's so up in the air at this point. It's just as, like, up in the air as it was before, but
Yeah.
the variables are just,
It's just like how far we've come. Also, I don't pick up this HP memory because I don't think there's any reason to. Like, at best, it would allow you to take one more damage from a step if you're electrocuted, but why are you electrocuted?
Exactly.
Alright, and rather than splitting before Magic Man, which would probably be the best thing to do, I split when I jack in here, so I don't have to worry about it. It'll be a little inaccurate, but... Yep, so for those wondering, world record has passed, and I haven't fought Magic Man yet. For now.
I'm switching to this route, though. It's just gonna be,
Well-
it's gonna be different probably, but I'm switching to this ideal, this concept here.
Well, it's not that you're switching routes. Basically, we're
I think 4
making a new
minutes
route
in a
that's
2-hour
incorporating
run
attack.
is...
in particular the RNG, just not necessarily the choices that I made.
It wouldn't be too much of an exaggeration to say
A
you're
lot
crushing
more
it.
than I expected was the same as what we've been doing, which is kind of nice, but that's
Yeah.
obviously probably going to change too, but, you know,
As
it's
we
kind
find
of
more
reassuring.
setups.
It's reassuring that we're not saving and running and then saving and running, although, I mean, we could do that, but...
Well,
We
that's
could
the
do
question
that.
Is each map can be solved using
Could
that
do
technique.
that.
The question is, how long would it take to manipulate the entire map? And then how long on average would it take if you were just getting lucky?
And
So-
how long would it take before you got tired of it? You
So
just
hold
said,
on.
This is not fun anymore. That's
Yeah.
what I would do. I just,
So
this isn't fun anymore.
I saved in the corner there, and I'm running up and to the right, and then at any point I switched to holding straight up. And this was actually surprisingly consistent. Unfortunately, I got an encounter, so I had to go back and reset it. But we're going to run into the Magic Man fight right here. Now, you'll notice that I didn't edit my folder, but I still got Gut Shoot. You'll remember back when I edited my folder during the Elect Man scenario, that actually was basically the final folder edit, and it
That's
fixed
pretty
my
cool.
chips for the Door Virus, Bomb Man, and Magic Man. So I think that's really cool.
That is cool. Well, I guess that could change if we found a proper setup
Yeah?
for Elect Man.
Oh gosh, this
Yes, it would.
is the worst virus combination.
Yeah. And so basically Magic Man is you hit him with Gut Shoot, damage boost for a Quake, he's dead. Easy every time. S rank free fight, no one's going to die to Magic Man anymore.
Even with
That
Claudia,
was a, I mean,
Yeah,
you can still beat
a
Magic
huge
Man.
improvement.
worst combo, best fight.
Who'd have thought? I really just, it boils my blood that you can't use Elexord on Claudius and kill it in
One
one
day.
hit.
Mm-hmm.
It just kills me inside.
Alright. A set of save states. I have save states at all major places, but those are from the first route before RNG manip got heavy, and as a result, it doesn't have the same folder. Now, the thing about RNG manip is folder edits are important, as is folder composition.
Got it.
I'll still hand out the
Nice.
save states, but
It's a pretty good live fire skip.
they'll mainly be useful for doing setups, which is the most important part. Alright, now the easy every time live fire skip. I'm guessing live fires isn't really manipulable. Sort of. He's kind of manipulable.
Very nice.
I don't think Drams had seen it yet.
I'm not gonna lie, when I was talking to my roommate and my girlfriend, I was like, I'm gonna watch this run tonight, and I think he's gonna be like a 154. I kid you not.
Well, there it is. So yeah, 154.37-ish.
Casual sub 2.
Sub 2 club, easy every time.
Yeah.
Every player who's on BN1 run now has a sub 2.
I
Too
guess I
bad
should
chat
update
died.
my PB on Joko from 4 hours.
I was surprised you didn't update it like the last race.
Well, I
So
knew
now
it.
you're second.
I knew it
That's
would
pretty
matter.
crazy just with one run.
Well, see,
of a route
it's
change.
it's unfair because of the new route. So basically, once Kevin and Dan and anyone else running the game learns the new route, then we'll start to see how people stack up again.
And they all left.
I think we're all gonna have our own little strats, which will be
Yeah.
pretty cool. But eventually, we'll come to a consensus of what is actually faster.
Yep.
I'm excited for that because I gotta send my computer back Monday, so I'm gonna be just probably just finding setups and then coming back streaming with new ideas.
That's cool. I won't be streaming probably for the month of August. I'm gonna go work on other stuff, but then I'll come back after that. I'll give you guys plenty of time to look at all this new stuff, and then we'll come back and go back to it. Yeah, like you guys see all the tech now, so
147.
you can take what you will, leave what you won't. The thing about resetting is you have to reset in order to manipulate the RNG. So if you want to do it less, that just means you're relying more on RNG. So
Yeah, unless you can consistently play frame perfectly from the beginning of or beginning of the game
I mean-
until X point, then yeah.
like Prism got world record and he does no manip. So
Oh yeah.
Kevin, Dan, you guys, you can still beat this time without manipping. It's just it makes a lot of the fights a bunch easier.
This is going to rely on consistent edits. It's going to rely on consistent setups. And
Yeah.
really, like, the
I'll show you my
other route
notes.
is going to just rely on luck. And I kind of prefer this route if
Alright.
we can find good setups.
So you'll see I'm fighting Magic Man again, and actually I missed a charge shot. The sword he moved into my way, so... And he did it again. This is frustrating. Nah. I almost died to Magic Man.
That,
Which is
could
funny
look
now,
better.
because of the chips I have. But that's fine. So, I wanted to go back and fight the live fires, because basically if you miss the skip, there's 1, 2, and it took...
The thing is, if you miss the
and if
skip,
you're
you hit
doing-
him with gut
if you-
shoot.
Yeah, so that's a
That's
live
it.
fire. Probably
So it's super
210.
easy.
WW telling us we should look in. Oh,
Kevin's sticking to the easily, but it's possible. You only miss.
you're so mean. Like, did
Hey,
you
chat
see the
worked.
folder flow I had? It was amazing.
Folder flow.
I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. I liked how it was consistent too. And it wasn't that out of the way. You just jack in and you...
No, exactly.
go.
Each one took 29 seconds to get.
And I mean, look at you. You're second now.
I'm sorry,
So-
Dragoon, okay? I'm sorry.
Dragoon's last.
Well, Dragoon wasn't here, so, you know.
Sorry,
May as well
Dragoon.
farm for 7. I'm thinking what we'll do probably in the future is pick up one at the start and try and manip 2 or 3 of the fights. So we'll go through the comps kind of normally, and end up, it's just not, is that they have the same dimension. Prism DC'd. It's weird.
Some
But
parts
since
of
all of the subnets are the same size, they all have the same setups. Alright, see you, Plexa. Thanks for watching. And I look forward to anything else that you find. Because the more stuff we have, the better decisions we can make and the faster route we can come up with.
Yay! Boom. There we go. So those are done. Get back to the history. So that was my RTA in 154.37. This is the first run that used RNG manipulation found by Plexa a week earlier, and it was on July 28th, 2014. I didn't update the history beyond that, so all of the other stuff. Well, here, let's go over to leaderboards. So this is the Mega Man RTA leaderboards made by Joka, updated by the community. And you can see my time's still number 3. Dan, Dragoon, and Kevin unfortunately didn't take the new route and do anything with it. But Doisum and Prism did. In particular, Doisum took the RNG manipulation, advanced it, as well as switched over to playing the Japanese version of the game because save resets were quicker, which was a big deal for RNG manipulation, and less text in some areas. So I'm going to take a short break, get some water, get some food, and then we'll check out what Doisum was able to accomplish in almost 5 months after this run was published. So I'll be right back. So here we are with Doysum's run of Mega Man Battle Network 1 or Rockman EXE 1 in 1 hour 41 minutes and 50 seconds.